Good morning, Mrs. Smith. I'm glad that you decided to come in. Thank you for coming. You explained to me that you were experiencing some domestic violence. So what I did was I looked up some information. So that I'd like to talk with you about that. Um, I don't know how much you know about domestic violence, but I want to familiarize you with some things. Um, that domestic violence can have negative effect on its victims, and it depends upon how long the abuse continues. The more it continues, the more negative the effects it has on it. Some people, some folks, especially adults, children a little bit different, but adults can have some long. They can be in domestic violence situations for lengths of periods of time. It depends upon the type of violence, the length. It could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be a combination of both. And long term, it could affect heart conditions. You can experience chronic pains, and also there could be some asthmatic issues as well. It affects us all in different ways. Um, I'd like to go over some of the things that you may be experiencing or that you could experience. Some of them you may have, and some of them you may not be experiencing. But as a result of domestic violence, physically, there can be bruises, cuts, lesions. You may suffer from headaches, like I mentioned earlier, with longer um, issues of domestic violence. There may be back pain. You certainly can experience broken bones. You can have some gynecological injuries, pregnancy complications. You can get STDs. You can have some gastrointestinal disorders, as well as, like I said before, heart diseases. Some of these things you may be experiencing already, some of them you may not have, and then others can become, you can experience after long periods of being in domestic violence. I'm not sure how long you've been there in domestic violence, but the longer you stay, the more likely you are to suffer a lot of these physical conditions. Psychologically, there can be depression at different levels. You can be you can experience despair, loss of hope in the future. You may even have some suicidal behaviors. I like to say at this point, though, if that is happening, or if it does happen, you should contact someone, and I'll give you some numbers to call at the end of the session. There can be also some anxiety, some low self-esteem. You may even have inability to trust someone. You're experiencing with domestic violence with someone that you really care about, and therefore you'll be unlikely to trust someone else. And in the fear of intimacy. And then there's sleep issues. Now, I feel personally that this is huge because most doctors say that for our bodies to regroup, revitalize itself, and to heal itself, we need to be in a state of, the body needs to be in a state of rest. This happens when we are asleep. When that happens, when we rest and get the proper sleep, then the body's able to heal itself, and it can revitalize itself. Now, this is also done the physical body and the mental state as well. Now, if you're not sleeping, you're not able to get that revitalization. You're not able to get that healing that you may require after suffering a domestic violence incident. So therefore, you're more likely to be more susceptible to its stresses and the trauma that it creates. While you're not sleeping, you're sitting there, you're lying there, and you're thinking about things that maybe you could change what's going on. Maybe it's your fault, you might be thinking. There again, there goes your low self-esteem. you're feeding that. You might think that there's no way out of this. There goes your loss of hope, and so you're feeding those things, that psychological thing that the trauma of domestic violence creates. So therefore, you're going back into a cycle, which is very apt to allow you to get PTSD. And then it also is a process of flashbacks. So those are the things that can happen. Also, you have an inability the next day because you haven't slept, is to be unable to concentrate, to be able to think about what's going on. Now, there's also the issue of social in things that happen. The person that your spouse or significant other is causing this domestic violence, there's a means of control. So other people won't access you. They need to separate you from other folk. You may think that you have bruises, so therefore you don't want people to see you. So you don't invite the family over. You don't invite your friends over. You're reluctant to go to other events. When you get to other events, or like go to your doctor or to your employer, you don't want to get your partner into trouble, so you're less likely to say something, or you maybe have been threatened. If you tell anybody, I'm gonna. These are things that keep you in control of the abuser itself. Now, what I'd like you to do is to take these lists and take them home with you. The list, especially the psychological, and the physical. If you're experiencing any of those, write down the two that you're experiencing, or cross the two that you're experiencing the most. And I would like you to go on the website, Women Against Abuse. And they have a lot of information on there. Read up on those two issues that you are actually experiencing, and we'll go over that when you come back next week. I'd like you to see you next week at this same time if it's possible. Great. Okay. If you have any questions, just call me on the phone, and we will go over those questions prior to you getting here. Thank you so much for coming in, and enjoy it. Have a good day.